For centuries, the southern tip of India throbbed with the energy of three mighty kingdoms. The Cholas, the Cheras, and the Pandyas, like three crowned kings, dominated the landscape. They shaped its destiny with their ambition, their valor, and their unique cultural brilliance. Before the Mughals, before the Marathas, the southern tip of India was ruled by three mighty powers for over 1,000 years: the Cholas, the Cheras, and the Pandyas. Their stories are filled with epic battles, grand temples, maritime trade, and incredible cultural legacies. Let's dive into the untold story of Tamil Akkam's warrior kings, their rise, glory, and fall.
The origins of these dynasties are shrouded in the mists of time. Ancient texts and inscriptions whisper of their early reigns. Part 1. Origins and Founders. Early Cholas are mentioned in Ashoka's 2nd and 13th rock edicts of 3rd century BCE as independent neighbors of the Mauryan Empire. Ashoka refers to Cholas, Pandyas, Satyaputras, and Keralaputras as unconquered southern kingdoms, a testament to their early power. Founder of early Chola, Karikala Chola, 1st or 2nd century CE, famous for the Grand Anikut Dam on the Kaveri River. Founder of Imperial Chola, Vijaya Laya Chola, mid-9th century CE, captured Thanjavur, marking the Chola revival. Last king, Rajendra Chola III, who ruled from 1246 to 1279, defeated by Pandyas, ending Chola rule. The Cheras founder, Uthiyan Cheralathan, who ruled around 3rd century BCE, based in Vanji, modern-day Karur, they controlled the western trade routes connecting with Romans and Arabs. Last major ruler, Rama Varma Kulashekara, 11th century, part of the later Chera Perumal dynasty. The Pandyas. Founder, Nadangelian, one who ruled around 3rd century BCE. Based in Madurai, they were known for literary patronage and early Sangam poetry. Last king, Maravarman Kulasekara, Pandyan I, early 14th century. Later subdued by the Delhi Sultanate. Part 2. Battles and Rivalries. Chronological key battles. Battle of Talaya Langanam Cholas versus the Pandya Chera alliance. Around 10th century CE, Rajaraja Chola won, defeated both and expanded Chola territory. Battle of Kandalur Salai, Cholas versus Cheras naval base destroyed by Cholas under Rajaraja I. Battle of Kulachal, historical tension around 12th century CE. Pandya resurgence under Jadavarman Sundara Pandyan crushed Chola dominance. Final blow, in 13th century Pandya kings defeat Rajendra Chola III, ending the Chola dynasty. These dynasties often fought each other, then traded with each other, and then went back to war, a cycle that lasted for centuries.
Part 3. Administration, Symbols, and Society. Symbols and Emblems. Chola. Tiger, Chera, bow and arrow, Pandya, fish, administration. Cholas. They were most advanced, had a well-organized bureaucracy, local self-government through village assemblies, sabhas, land surveys, and temple administration. Chera and Pandya followed monarchical rule, supported temple-centric administration, but Cholas were more centralized.
Land grants called Brahmadeya, Devadana, or Velanvagai, given to Brahmins, temples, or soldiers. Inscriptions were made on copper plates, for example, Thiruvalangadu plates of Cholas. Temples built by Cholas, Brihadiswara Temple, Thanjavur by Rajaraja I, Gangaikonda Cholapuram, Iravatasvara Temple, and others. Temples built by Pandyas, expansion of Meenakshi Temple in Madurai. Temples built by Cheras, patronized Bhagavathi temples. Temples in Kerala like Thirunelli and Kodungalur. Vijayalaya's capture of Thanjavur in the 9th century CE marked a turning point in Chola history.
Part 4. Trade, Culture, and Decline. Trade and Navy. Cholas had a massive navy. They conquered Sri Lanka, sent expeditions to Srivijaya, or Indonesia. All three dynasties traded with Rome, China, and Arabia, exporting spices, pearls, textiles, culture, and literature. Sangam literature flourished under Pandyas and Cheras. Cholas supported Tamil and Sanskrit scholarship, temple arts, bronze sculpture.
Were people happy? Inscriptions mention donations from merchants, women, farmers, sign of a prosperous, participative society. Temples were not just religious centers, they were schools, banks, granaries, and hospitals.
Decline of Cholas, weakened by constant wars, internal succession disputes, and finally defeated by Pandyas. Decline of Pandyas, fell to Delhi Sultanate invasions, tilde 14th century, decline of Cheras, lost relevance after the rise of Zamorins and Travancore in Kerala.
Who were the Satyaputras? Historians have debated their identity, but the leading theories suggest they were a minor royal family or tribal ruling clan located in southern India, likely somewhere between the Chera and Pandya territories, modern southern Tamil Nadu or Kerala. Some scholars link them to the As or Valirs, possibly smaller chieftains or feudatories who later got absorbed into the bigger dynasties. The term Satyaputra translates to sons of truth and might have been a dynastic title or honorific rather than a specific ethnic or clan identity. In the heart of rural administration was the a simple village. But these villages didn't stand alone. They were grouped into larger units called kurams, kind of like today's blocks. Several kurams together formed a nadu, a key administrative and revenue district. Above the nadu was the Valanadu, a super-region used particularly by the Cholas to organize vast stretches of territory. Some villages, called Taniyur, were independent tax-paying units, and large, prestigious villages were known as Perur. In some cases, entire villages were granted to Brahmins and called Chaturvedi Mangalams, tax-free settlements that became centers of learning and culture. Temples and land grants. Temples weren't just places of worship. They were powerful institutions. Land given to temples was called Devadana, sacred land whose revenue maintained temple activities. Land given to Brahmins was called Brahmadeya. These lands were often tax-free and reflected royal patronage. There were also Vilanvagai lands, cultivated by tenant farmers and taxed regularly. A special kind of tax, known as Tiruna Matukani, was earmarked specifically for temples. In general, Irai was the word used for tax, and Kadame referred to the dues or services owed to the king or landlord, officials and governance. The backbone of local governance was the Sabha, an assembly of Brahmin elders who ran the Brahmadeya villages. In non-Brahmin villages, similar duties were handled by the Sabha. Larger and more powerful assemblies were called Mahasabhas. These bodies had various committees, known as variums, managing everything from irrigation to temple festivals. The Natar were local elites who held power in the Nadu, while influential landowners were known as Udinalai Periyanatar. In some regions, particularly under the Cheras and Pandyas, local administrators were called Tandanars. Religion and culture. The cultural world was filled with spiritual expression. The word Tiru, meaning sacred, was often used as a prefix in place names, like Tiruchendur or Tirunelveli. Sacred hymns, called Tirumurai, were compiled during the Chola era. The first 7 volumes of these devotional songs are known as the Tevaram, composed in praise of Lord Shiva. Even kings were given divine names. For example, Arul Mojivarman, meaning the one whose words are divine, was the birth name of the great Rajaraja Chola I. Taxes and economic terms were just as important. Kadamai was the standard word for land tax or dues. Kanakai referred to offerings or tribute to the king or deity. And Veti was a labor tax, often unpaid and eventually abolished in later centuries. Other important terms. Stone inscriptions called Kalvetu were used to record royal orders, land grants, and temple endowments, carved permanently into the walls of temples and monuments. Royal charters were called sasanas, often written in Sanskrit or Tamil. And don't forget the Kodi, the flag or banner, symbolizing royal victory and divine authority. Statues or idols used in worship were known as silai, crafted in bronze with breathtaking detail.
Conclusion. The Cholas gave us temples that defy time. The Pandyas gave us Tamil that still sings. The Cheras gave us maritime might and cultural bridges. Their stories remind us that India's soul doesn't lie in just one empire. It lies in the shared legacies of many, woven together over millennia. Like, share, and subscribe for more deep dives into India's forgotten empires.